Welcome to the second edition of the DJ Force X podcast. I want to thank everybody that downloaded the first one last week with David from Calling All Astronauts. It's very much appreciated, and your feedback has been brilliant, quite frankly, because I'm still learning how to do this. So I'm trying to iron out all the gremlins and whatnot, audio-wise, and to get my flow on as an interviewer. On this week's podcast, we've got Marc from the Karma Party coming up, but before that, got a little bit of news, got myself a day job. Yay, I can hear you all scream. My radio show has been picked up by a second station here in Florida. It's on the Mix Radio Network on Saturday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. That's about 4 o'clock in the morning for you UKers, but it's for the American audience. My show is normally on Tuesday nights on Total Rock at 11 o'clock on UK time. But anyway, enough of that. Let's kick into this week's interview. Enjoy. Welcome to the DJ Force X podcast. This week we have Marc from UK punk step band The Karma Party. Welcome, Marc. How are you doing?
I'm all right, man. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Nice. Well, thanks for having us anyway.
Yep, no problem. Okay, to start with, can we give the audience a breakdown of your band?
Yep, certainly.
How long you've been around, history, things like that?
Cool. Well, we've been going for about 3 years. We've got a couple of us started from a different band, and we sort of got this together sort of after that split up. And we do sort of punk music with electronics, and we've been touring and sort of putting releases out and videos and whatnot. So yeah, that's just how we've been doing it at the minute. Yeah,
cool. And you're the front man, right?
I am the front man. I am the singer. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Okay, we'll talk about your current release, Illuminations.
Super.
It's a 5-track EP which you released in August.
Yeah.
Can you give me the story behind the EP?
Yeah, certainly. Well, we'd put out Dark Matters, which was obviously our first EP, and we were sort of reviewed in Kerrang and all of the rest of it, and it sort of went really well. So we did this next one. We didn't feel it was time to drop an album at that point, and we thought we had enough tracks to do an album, but we just thought we'd skim it down to like the best 5 tracks of what we had. So we did that, and it was recorded solely in bedrooms, and just when we could do it. We didn't go to a studio to do it. We did it all by ourselves, sort of in bedrooms and back rooms and practice rooms and stuff. So
cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed the EP. I really enjoyed Dark Matters as well, actually, which was that last year that was released, or was it 2012?
It was the year before, so it would be 2012, yeah.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed that EP back when that came out. And this one was really good. And like you said, you picked your 5 strongest songs, because every track on that EP is strong. I was listening to it a few times, and it was like, yeah, there's not much else you can... I
thought it was perfect. I thought it was just, we chose a dynamic to it as well, where, we really thought about sort of, how to structure it. How would you best structure a 5-track EP?
Yeah.
And we sort of went through sort of, the opening track and sort of how it would flow into the final song. So it's really thought out EP, and I think we were all really happy with it as well. So
excellent. Yeah, I was going to say, sorry, my phone rang just then. I was going to say, I mean, the EP itself, it really struck me as, no offense to the genre itself of punk, but it's kind of sounded the same for a while, apart from unless it's been diluted by the sort of big boys of the punk genre.
Yeah.
Where you guys, I felt, take it that step forward. It was just like melding the punk sound with the electronic sound in that manner. I haven't really heard it before in that way. I've heard it in different settings.
Yeah.
Like back pitch shifter for one. Really, like they kind of had that punky edge to them, but they were more. They came from an industrial background.
Certainly did, yeah.
Whereas your EP, it really like I'm trying to find the words. It really brings the punk sound into what I feel is today's sound.
Yeah,
where it wasn't saturated with the electronics. It didn't fall into that cyberpunk genre.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, dude. Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I think it was really important to us at the time to make, good songs away from sort of the aesthetics of the electronics and stuff. So, that the electronics was kind of like the cherry on top. Whereas like we wanted to make songs that stand up, almost just on an acoustic guitar. We could play those songs and they'd still sound good. Yeah,
cool. I mean, I can hear a lot of influences within your sound as well. I mean, from it, I pulled the Streets.
Yeah,
like Bad Brains, 1 Minute Silence, Plan B, and stuff like that. I really like that. That's the kind of vibe I got from it. I'm talking about Plan B's earlier stuff. I can't remember the name of his first album, but that particular album where it was more street level kind of, part of the people. Not saying his like soul album he did was kind of, it was quite a jump from where he was before, but it was just those are the sort of things I hear from it. I mean, are those bands that influence you, or was it more of local stuff, or was it those?
It's a mix of everything. I mean, it's really. We go from, what you mentioned there was perfect. I mean, the Streets are a massive influence. I think the bands that, have really influenced over the time, influences over time are like Skindred, bands like Slipknot, which is a random, it might sound random, but Slipknot are sort of, a big influence, especially to the drummer. Just all that sort of, electronic punk crossover. That's the thing about the punk scene in the UK is it incorporates so many different genres. It's not just punk. It's always been sort of, drum and bass beats, electronics, reggae, all of these influences coming together. And, we thought we'd try and harness that and sort of, do that sort of crossover thing, but do it so the tracks really are stand out and they're strong and they're not really affected by the aesthetic, which is the electronics. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So how has the release been? I mean, it's been is it a month now from?
It's been a couple of months.
2 months. 2 months. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been great. I didn't expect. I mean, you never know going into the PR phase of an EP. You never know how it's going to go. Like you've been listening to these tracks for 6 months to a year, and you've been so close to them that it's almost impossible for you to sort of judge whether they're any good anymore. You're listening to what I'm listening to when I listen to it is completely different to what other people are listening to. So you just don't know. And when we released it, we got sort of such a good response from it. Again, it's the second time that we've had a really good response from just a couple, 5 songs.
Yeah.
That it was pretty humbling, really. We got Kerrang to do an exclusive. We had good reviews across all the mainstream press, which, as I say, it's only our second EP, so to sort of garner that response, on the second release is brilliant. So
yeah, it's always difficult the second time round.
it's a nightmare because you obviously have all the I wouldn't say pressure, but you have all the expectancy from the first record or from the last thing that you've put out.
Yeah.
You desperately don't want it to do worse than that,
No, it's a strange thing. I mean, I experienced it back because I was in a band in the UK.
Got you.
And we released a single. We had a couple of demos, but we released a single, had it pressed up properly and everything. And the response from people was really good, but the response from the press wasn't so good.
Right.
So we kind of had that, and then obviously we came up to the first album, and then suddenly that was everywhere. It was, top marks on fanzines and top marks in the UK press and everything. And it sort of, and then we came to our second album.
All right.
And it was a lot different. it was because obviously the writing process is different because you had whereas before with your first releases it's kind of like the collection of your demos that you've had for 2-3 years, and you've honed those in and people have heard them at your live shows, so your core fan base know the songs.
Yeah, definitely.
But when it comes to your second album, these are songs that you haven't given that time.
That's it. They don't know these songs, and they haven't had the time. You haven't had the time to get to grips with them as much as well. Yeah. It's really daunting. That second release, I always think, is a really daunting prospect. You know, you have to go out and you have to better your last record. But I think after you put it out, you realise that you shouldn't care as much. You know, you should be making yourself happy and be really content with what you're putting out, and then, you know, to hell with the rest of it. That's how. Now I'm just like, well, if we don't get the reviews, I'm still putting the records out. I don't care. Yeah, so.
No, we had it because we were quite DIY as well in that respect. Apart from we recorded everything ourselves, so we kept that in house. But I think the second album was released on a label, and it was a totally different experience that we didn't really enjoy. Just say we made it to a third album though, but
that's brilliant.
It's that kind of like having that DIY process that you guys have had. Is I find that's a lot better for bands these days.
I think it is.
Because it gives you that understanding. Because the problem that I see these days with a lot of new bands is they don't have that understanding. They have that fresh face. They'll go in. They'll be that 5 minutes. And then they've disappeared because suddenly it's become slightly difficult.
That's it. And it is difficult. It is difficult to come up with tracks that you're really happy with, that you want everybody to hear. And you're putting yourself out there to be judged at the end of the day. And, you know, to do that and be happy with it, I think there is a level that you have to just like switch off from that type of stuff. In the end, you have to just be like, you'll drive yourself crazy with it. You know, you have to just be like, I don't care anymore. I'm just going to put out what I'm happy with, and you know, if I'm happy with it, then it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks.
But we'll still send it to the magazines to see what they think.
I hope they still praise it. So
because you know that helps to like further the band slightly.
It's true. I mean, it's a horrible sort of, you know, you need them at the end of the day. You need the press, and you need them to, you know, hopefully, you know, further your career and all the rest of it. But at the same time, you kind of have to sort of be really indignant to them and just not care. Like, not get too wrapped up in it, you know, because I think we've had like the odd bad review. And I tell you, I remember those reviews almost word for word. I don't really remember all of the good ones, but, you know, it's the bad ones, I think, stay with you.
Yeah. But you have to listen to both and you have to respect both. That's
it, exactly.
That's where you grow up within your music. Is that kind of like...
You know, I always say, like, any criticism, you know, we welcome it because we want to better ourselves. And I think with each record that we do, we're refining the process, so it is almost like a work in progress every time, you know. We've just started work on the album now, so
I was about to ask, are there plans for an album?
We've started really over the last 5 weeks, really just getting the ideas together and just starting the process all over again, you know. And the way that we're sort of coming up with the ideas is a lot more organic this time. It's, you know, in a practice room jamming, whereas last time it was kind of like layered ideas and sort of, you know, coming up with an idea and then building on that. It's very much this time all of us in a practice room sort of coming up with the ideas and then recording the demos live. So we've got a lot quicker sort of turnaround this time. So I think that was one of the things last time. It took a while to do Illumination because we were fully in control of it, and you know, we kept on sort of picking it up and sort of doing stuff to it, and then there'd be a week or two in between it, and it did take a bit longer than we would have liked, just because we were fully in control of it. And I think when you don't have an external body sort of saying, right, that's done now, you know, you tend to sort of stick with it for ages and sort of, you know, work on it as much as you can. But this time around, we're aiming to sort of get a quicker turnaround with the writing. So
okay, when do you sort of? Well, I know it's sort of putting dates on stuff, but when do you sort of plan to have that?
I want it out by the sort of beginning of sort of next year, first quarter next year. I'm looking for.
Okay.
So we're looking for a quick turnaround. So
okay, and is that released on a label or would that be released yourselves?
I think it's going to be released on Beautiful Life. Beautiful Life is it's like a record label that essentially we put out Dark Matters on. Mm-hmm. So we put out Illumination on ourselves, but I think we are going to put out the album through Beautiful Life, which is great. So
excellent. So yeah, have you got anything coming up? Live shows, anything like that?
It's a bit quiet at the moment because we're sort of getting stuck into the album, and we've had a few sort of changes in personnel over recent times. So we are sort of, we did the festival circuit this year, and as from there on, we just said we were going to get our head stuck into sort of getting the album out. So I think we're going to just do more like that. I think we're looking to drop a single first from what we're writing now, and then we'll take it from there. But at the moment, no shows booked at the minute.
Okay, well, that's fair.
Yeah, we're looking to tour sort of, I would say, beginning of next year. But just at the minute, we really want to get a head start on the writing process. So
cool. Who would you ideally love to support on a tour if you could pick anyone?
Well, you see, that's a really good question. Ideally, I suppose it'd be hard to not to say bands like Enter Shikari, because I just think we'd go down really well with them. But yeah, I think I don't know. It's a really good question, that, because I've not really thought about that before. Sort of like who ideally we'd like to sort of go on tour with, but I think bands who are up and coming like Marmozets, and because they're brilliant. I mean, have you heard that new album?
I've only heard a couple of singles.
Absolutely brilliant. The album.
Yeah, I've seen all the hype about them because obviously I keep my eye on what's going on in the UK, but they seem to be, all my friends seem to be very much into them at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I saw them on the last EP, and they were incredible then. And then they've dropped this album, which is, I think they've done it on Roadrunner as well. Which
they have. Yeah.
That's incredible for a young band, So I'd like to sort of go on tour with them. Royal Blood, of course. Yeah. Who can ignore Royal Blood in the minute?
They're doing stuff here now over in the States. They're getting a few. They're getting a lot of like the TV time and everything.
That's incredible. Yeah.
It's fun to see bands like that come over here because they're from the UK and you don't initially see the impact.
Yeah,
whereas before when I was living there, I'd have like the radio on, so I'd have Radio 1 on or whatever, and you'd have it on rotation, so you're kind of like, oh, okay, so they're the next big thing. Whereas here, you kind of hear about it, and then they come over here and they're playing these tiny little venues.
That's great.
I mean, I managed to see this year the Arctic Monkeys.
Right.
In like where I live, there's like an outdoor venue. It's like sort of 2,000 capacity, so it's relatively small, but. For $25, I got to watch them for an hour and a half play. Whereas in the UK, you get to see them for an hour at, Wembley Arena or whatever they're playing now, or whatever festival. And it's just funny seeing that sort of band come over here. Then they started doing like all the TV shows, like they do Letterman, and they've got their music on a drinks advert, and and now they're on rotation on the radio, and you're like, wow.
Yeah. It's great to see. It's great to see sort of British bands, young British bands, sort of coming over to the States. That's great.
Yeah, it's where it used to be the other way around. Whereas, like when we're in the UK, we'd have like all these American bands come over,
right?
And they'd be huge. But then here, they're like, not big at all. They're playing club venues essentially. Whereas in the UK, they're playing like arenas. And
that's mental, isn't it? Yeah.
It's just crazy because when I came over here, they had when I first came, I've been here for 2 years, but downtown St. Pete.
Whereabouts are you?
Sorry?
Whereabouts are you?
I'm in Tampa.
Right.
In Florida. So
nice.
Weather's nice. But when I first came over here, they had like Kill Switch Engage playing like a local venue,
right?
Like 600 capacity venue.
That's incredible.
And
isn't
they just reunited with their original singer.
Oh right, yeah.
So you think they would be, you know, bigger venues, but no, they were playing that venue for, it was like $15.
That's mental.
So I'm like sat here thinking, in the UK, I'd probably pay £30 to go to Brixton to see them do the same thing.
That's great.
Whereas here it's like $15, which is like £10, and and it's just like seeing that it was quite weird for me because, like I said, I was in a band in the UK and we had our sort of 15 minutes, nice. And you grow in the venue stature. And you feel that process, but then you see all these huge bands and think, oh, I'd love to support them, go over to the States and support them and all that kind of stuff. And then you realise they're playing the same size venues that you are playing at that level.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Over here. And it's just like Trivium and stuff. They're not that big here, but they're huge in the UK and Europe.
Yeah. Massive, aren't they? Yeah.
It's just so it's kind of odd, but then it's nice seeing that progression again. And like getting to see these British bands come over here, because then it always leads to more bands like coming over, because there's that movement of Brit rock or Brit whatever. Yeah, you know, and they seem to really like that sort of stuff here.
That's great.
So it's fun. But it's that strange trip, kind of like trying to realize what's going, you know, how it's working, and then like you realize that it's just the fact they've come from the States. And the magazines have said, oh, they're coming over. Yeah, and the hype behind them, like with Roadrunner or whatever label, Warner Brothers, it just makes it, you know, bigger for you in the UK. So, I don't know. It's crazy. You're a political band. Would you agree with that, or
I don't know? You know,
more social, like, you know, more what's the word?
Social commentary, maybe.
Yeah, social commentary. Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. We always get called political, and I don't know if that's an accurate statement, because, you know, although we talk about things that affect us in our lives and stuff, we don't really talk about sort of politics or politicians or anything like that. It's just very much how our lives are being affected by, you know, the external factors. You know, the majority of our band are from Blackpool.
Okay, yeah.
Which I don't know if you know, but Blackpool's not what it used to be in regards to, you know, holiday resort. It's pretty run down, and, you know, we've been sort of, you know, used to that for a while now. So we tend to sing about things that happen or things that we see in our lives, you know, and it's very rare that you would see one of us sitting down to have a political conversation with someone. You know, I personally hate politics. I think politics is the problem, if you will. I think there's too much politics, and I think basically that's the thing that, you know, is causing all the problems. So we get labelled political all the time. I think, you know, we have encouraged it a little bit, because, you know, it seems to be, you know, stuff that people want to talk about, but I don't know. I wouldn't call ourselves political. I'm not a political person in that sense. I try to avoid politics.
Yeah, no, that's why I kind of went for the social commentary angle, because I know a lot of like political quote unquote bands. The same as you. They'll. It's mainly getting people to talk about it.
Yeah,
it's to strike that conversation, to start that conversation, because a lot of people sit back and they'll take whatever the powers that be, whatever decision they're making, they'll just take it. They think, you know, they know what they're doing. And like you said, you don't like politics, and you think the politics is the problem. It's the problem. It is. It's people who have, like, I always found back when I was younger and more sort of active in that field, it was more like the people who studied politics at the schools, the colleges, the universities, and they go into politics, and it's kind of like, you know, you're learning off the history, you know, of this, you know, the stuff that's gone before you that didn't work.
It didn't work, and
you're still regurgitating the same stuff again and again and again, Whereas people, they need people in, like, you know, in power that have lived a life, that understand the people. Well,
that's the thing, isn't it? I don't think that it's representative of the people anymore at all.
No.
I think there's a massive gap between what's happening, you know, on the streets to what's happening in Downing Street. You know, I think there's a really big difference between that, you know. And I don't know. I think the message of our band's always just been, you know, to think for yourself.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that's really, you know, sums it up, really. I think don't even listen. I always say don't even listen to us. You know, listen, just try and find what's true to yourself.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we want to do, is start that debate and get people thinking for themselves. So.
Yeah, and get people looking around their outside their front door.
Yeah,
because I've noticed a lot of, I've got a few, no offense to any of my friends that are listening, but I see their, you know, social media updates, and it's all about what's going on in other countries, which is bad. Don't get me wrong. You know, there's a lot of real bad stuff going on, you know, around the world. But even outside their front door, there's that sort of level of stuff going on.
Definitely,
you know, there's a level of poverty, like you say, with Blackpool. It's just not the place it used to be.
No. I mean, we see poverty everywhere. I mean, that's the thing. The issues that face a lot of these foreign countries, like, are happening in your back door, just outside your back door. You know, it's very much you know, a sorry state at the moment, and I just don't think people are aware of it. And you know, they are sort of fixated on Facebook, and you know, will happily share a status about something, but aren't really, you know, aware of what's happening, you know, just on the streets, you know.
It's like they're kind of more concerned about the gun control issues they have here in the US than they are of, you know, the say the bankers or whatever in the UK who have spent millions of robbed people of money and got away with it.
Yeah,
you know, it's that kind of. I don't get it. I mean, obviously, being here in the States, I can see what's happening in the UK via whatever news feed and what, you know, and obviously being here in the States as well, looking at what's going on here. I mean, depending on what news channel you watch, it's a different story for each thing, because you've got like your typical, you know, Fox News or whatever, who will over dramatize Ebola. You know, 2 people have had Ebola, and suddenly it's an epidemic here. You know. Yeah. You know, it's coming to get you. It's at your front door, kind of thing.
Mongering, isn't it?
That's exactly what it is. And we've got like, was it the elections going on here at the moment for like state senator type people?
Got you, right?
And it's just any adverts. They just hate adverts. It's like you got one guy. They're both crooks. The main 2 guys are essentially both crooks by the adverts that are rolling here.
It's typical, isn't it?
You know, and you're like, I can understand sort of, you know, taking pot shots at your opponent.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's constant. Every ad break is this guy did this in 2000 and now these people are profiting. He was part of a Posey scheme or whatever. And like, okay, so you're telling me that I'm to vote for one criminal for another one.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's just smear campaigns in America, isn't it? I get to do that. They do that on the adverts, don't they? I remember the John Kerry ones were incredible. Like, he looks French. Yeah. And, you know, they were doing all sorts of smear campaigns against him and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's a joke in the States, really, with regards to politics. If there was anywhere in the world that's messed up in regards to their elections, you know, you don't have to look at African countries for countries that are, you know, having vote fraud. You just got to look in America, you know.
Yeah, right? No, I mean, it's business here. Politics is business, you know, and that's what it is. You get big business supporting various parties. You get, you know, they invest in the campaigns in order to get something out of it, and that's the same. I mean, you even vote for your judges around here, like your court judges, and you're kind of like, well, surely they should just be, you know, independent. They should be. You know, you get Supreme Justice, you know, of the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court or whatever. They're all voted in by people. You know, your sheriff is voted in. And you're just like, why? because surely that should be someone coming through the ranks, getting promoted.
Yeah,
you know, guy retires, deputy comes in, becomes chief.
Yeah,
but it really doesn't work in law, politics, and and between all that, it's all business.
Yeah,
that glue that all together, and it's a very strange thing.
Yeah,
I don't think a lot of people realise that's how it works here. As such, I mean, you'll see like in the politics business, because the same in the UK, you get newspapers investing, you get in various parties and things like that for their campaigns. But it's the same here, but it's like it's more like the oil millionaire, and like the electronic, the electric supply company and stuff like that,
which totally wrecks the whole idea that politicians can act impartially. They've had millions invested into their campaigns by corporate entities, and therefore what are they just going to pass legislation that ruins their business? Do you know what I mean? It's just not going to happen. I remember when Obama got elected, he was talking about reform in medicine and in the pharmaceutical industry, but his biggest contributor at that time was Pfizer. So you just look at that and you just know he's not going to do anything.
Yeah,
because they invested $650 million or whatever it was. It was a ridiculous sum, that they invested into him, and he's not then going to do anything that endangers their business prospects. No. So it's just a joke, really. I think politicians should be public servants at the end of the day.
Yeah,
that's what they are. Especially here as well. It's the same. We have corporations investing in their campaigns, and at the end of the day, it just it ruins them. It ruins their ability to govern. They should just paid a minimal wage, and no one should be investing in them, and they should just, be public servants, as I see it.
Yeah.
Less government. I think that's the answer, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Yeah, it's becoming a PLC or a limited company, You have like the Tories, limited. And that's essentially what they are. They're just businesses trying to make, they give themselves pay rises, but they control, it's like they control too much.
They do. They control everything in the UK now. Like where you can smoke, what you can say almost. I saw this legislation that's been put through regards online. Online trolls, apparently. And now you can serve up to 2 years in jail.
Oh, really?
For saying the wrong thing. Now, I understand if you're threatening rape on someone, that's illegal, and you shouldn't be able to do that. But you just know that they're using these sensationalized media, stories to push through the ability to stop somebody, talking badly about the government. It's bound to happen. And there's just a weird sort of thing going on in the UK with freedom of speech at the minute. And I think that's something that's really, really worrying for me as an artist as well. Freedom of speech is, the one of the most important things. I don't want to be, getting in trouble or be worried about what I can say publicly as a singer.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. I mean, it's like this. I'm new to the podcasting world as such, but there are no rules on this. You can pretty much say anything that you feel you want to say, and there's no laws against you, unless you're, using slander or anything like that against someone. But it's a medium that I was like, because I didn't have that outlet before. I've got the radio show, which is purely music.
Right.
And it's just me sort of like introducing and, introing and outroing.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. There's no like commentary during it.
But
whereas this, I felt like there is no boundary to what this can do. I mean, I like back years ago, early internet, I used to run an internet fanzine. So
right.
My history of music goes back to my like mid-teens.
That's brilliant.
And I sort of stopped that when I joined the band because it became really difficult to
do both.
Review bands while you're in a band. It kind of, you want to make friends with other bands. You don't want to like start critiquing everyone.
Yeah.
So I stopped it. I turned it around. I turned it into like a promotions company. So I was putting on gigs. you know. And then, like, as I moved over here, because I was a nightclub DJ as well.
Right.
Rock clubs in the UK, sort of, around southern UK anyway.
Right.
And I came over here and suddenly didn't have that outlet. So and then I thought, okay, and I'll sort of start this. So I started looking into it, and there are no rules. There's no one governing podcasts, and it's a great way of getting your stuff across, because I listen to plenty. You know, I've sort of listened to various other people, be it, just sort of general sort of geek culture, or, just general life, really.
Yeah.
And it is, you can express anything of it, and and they're saying that it's a great way of getting across, because you don't have like the restrictions of radio. There's no broadcast law on it. Obviously, there are some aspects you don't want to talk about, or you shouldn't talk about.
Yeah.
In that respect, you don't want to start spreading hate or anything.
No, definitely not.
But I mean, there are podcasts out there that will, people will have that.
Yeah,
you'll have your agendas. But with this, it's great. You can speak freely. You can, have your own opinion, and you can just put it up. And if people want to download it, if they agree with you, great. If they don't, then
they have to listen to it. Exactly.
They don't have to listen to it. Exactly. You can subscribe to it, or you can just not. And it's just out there now.
That's brilliant.
And it's just that it's giving me that freedom to talk about stuff that normally I wouldn't get to talk about.
I think it's important, man. I think it's really important for people to be at this time, especially. I think it's really important for people to be expressing, their views on things, because a lot of our views are getting quashed, and freedom of speech is getting narrowed down now. So to be able to have a format that you can talk openly about stuff, I think that going forward as well, that's going to be essential. I really think that's going to be. We need public forums. We need to be able to speak, and not just sharing news stories on Facebook. I mean, properly, express ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I've had with that, because obviously, I mean, I'm here. I mean, I've got friends here, but we're not like everyday social like I was in the UK.
Yeah.
It's whereas I could sit with my friends wherever in the UK and we could just chat about stuff, and this gives me that opportunity now that I've got this, set up in order to say, I mean, like I said, I'm in the States, you're in the UK, so we're talking, and that I'm using that technology to kind of get that, those, the words out there so people can listen, strike up a conversation with someone, give someone an idea, they can go off and run with it, and that's sort of my thing with this, because like here I'm still not sure what I can and cannot talk about.
Right.
Whereas there's so many different views. If I came over here and say, like, I'm anti-gun,
yeah,
suddenly everyone's like, oh, it's in our right, it's in our constitution. I'm like, okay, all right, fine.
It's a big kettle of fish, that one, isn't it?
It's huge. It's ridiculous, but it's and I've avoided conversations like that because I've seen the backlash that people get, and I know some of the people I speak to are pro-gun.
Yeah,
and that's within their, they're not carrying it when they're bringing their kids to school or anything, which makes me feel better, because then there's nothing near the school that can. But it's just stuff like that. It's an odd. I mean, I can sort of chat about music with people.
Yeah,
because that's a good, like I'm doing right now with you guys. It's that easy. It's a good segue into a conversation.
Definitely.
But when you bring up stuff, they'll start asking you about. I mean, religion's a huge thing here.
Massive.
I mean, you can't go a quarter of a mile without seeing a church.
That's crazy.
Of some random section of religion. They've got so many offshoots of, the sort of main religions. It's really strange. I mean, we're near the, I'm about 10, 15 miles from the Church of Scientology.
No way.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. And like that's a big thing around here, because in Clearwater, which is, like I say, like 10, 15 miles away from where I live, that's where their main church is.
Right.
So you've got stuff like that here, which is really strange.
That's crazy.
You're like, you hear so many stories about them. Obviously Tom Cruise and whatever are all part of the same thing, and you're like, oh, okay. And then you hear all the, how sort of strictly they're run, and it's just very strange. I'm all for people practicing what they believe. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not, I don't anti the people. I don't agree with most of it. It's just like with so many here.
It's just a different world over there, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, everything's triple XL over there, you know.
Yes.
But, you know, saying that, I've only ever been to the States once, so I've never really had the chance to see it. But you just you hear everything, don't you, about all the different religions they've got over there, and divisions, and you know, it is a bit crazy. Well, it's mental to me anyway, because I wouldn't say I'm sort of an atheist, but I have a completely different view on religion and spirituality to sort of, you know, most people over here, and it's a bit mental, isn't it? And in the UK, I kind of feel like it's still very much your own thing. You know, it's not pushed on anyone. If you are religious, it's, you know, you don't have to talk about it. You don't feel like you have to convert every single person that's near you to it. It's just your personal belief. But I don't think it's that way over there in the States, is it? It's very much like a recruitment thing.
Yeah, that's essentially it. I mean, it's very strange because it's like, I mean, I went to a Church of England school. So, you know, every morning you're singing hymns, saying prayers. You go to the church down the road.
Yeah.
Whereas here, I mean, the school my kids go to, they haven't pushed anything on them because there's a lot of different religions, and obviously their parents will take them to school. They'll take them to church on Sundays and stuff. But they're like, when they, like, my kids have to do like the Pledge of Allegiance in the morning, and that mentions God in that. So it's kind of it's very odd. I mean, I'm not that I'm gonna, you know, I'll let my kids make up their own mind.
Definitely. Yeah, that's the right thing to do. Yeah.
It's that kind of, I mean, they're only young. I mean, they're 5 and 6 years old. So, you know, I'm not going to, you know, but some of their friends go to church and things.
Right.
So it's kind of, you know, that it's not really been broached with us yet. They're not saying, why don't we go to church?
Give it time.
Yeah, I know, I'll get there. And there'll be other questions as well I'm waiting for, because they're both girls. So they, but it's just, it is very strange. It's just like you walk, you can't, like I say, you can't go like a quarter of a mile and not see a church. And it's just like, you know, you got a subdivision of the Baptist church, you got a subdivision of, you know, Catholic or Greek Orthodox or whatever, and it's just that kind of, how many do you need?
Yeah,
you know, and they're run on money as well. They get donations. They get, you know.
Yeah.
But their fundraisers are like business fundraisers. They're not like UK where you have like a tombola and a cake sale.
You have the massive ones over there as well, don't you? They're like the mega churches, and it's just mental it's so far removed from what I, as an English person, perceive religion to be. Religion's like, you know, we have these old, you know, in the UK we have these old, like, derelict, you know, churches that have been there for years and years and years, and they're just like, you know, it's a very select few people, well, especially from where I live, like, that go to these services and stuff. The churches aren't full whatsoever, and it's not pushed. You know, I don't think I've ever seen a sign in the UK for religion, but I hear in the States there's billboards and all sorts of, you know, advertising campaigns and whatnot, and you just think to yourself, well, it seems to be more of a product, doesn't it? And it's not necessarily a faith. It's very much like branding, and you know, you are this type of religion, and you know, I think it's just completely foreign to me. You know, I don't understand it at all. I don't want to either.
Yes. No, it's a thing that I'm not going to get into. It's
for different people, it's different things. It can be, you know, food or drugs or, you know, all sorts of different things. You know, for some people, it's you know, religion and feeling, you know, accepted as part of that group. But I've never understood crutches of that type. You know, I've never really, you know, understood it. I guess it's just a personal thing, isn't it? So.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So what on tour? Have you done many tours?
We've done a few tours, since we started.
Okay, what I'm trying to get with some of my podcasts is that I've been writing a cookbook,
right?
But specifically for touring bands.
Right.
Now, this is like to stop, like, you know, because obviously people that, you know, you think like McDonald's is cheap, KFC, you know, all the sort of fast food, which essentially it's not a great energy builder for you on tour.
It's definitely not.
I mean, looking at myself, I mean, I'm a big guy, but, you know, on tour, when I had to, like, you know, I'd eat McDonald's, you know, I'd be eating whatever fast food because it was cheap and, it, you know, it was food.
Yeah.
So what I've started to do after a while is like, well, what can I cook on tour? You know, you got bare minimum stuff. Is there anything particular? I know this is probably I hadn't thought about it, but is there anything particular you'd suggest food wise on tour?
I tell you, it's see, being on tour is a tricky thing, isn't it? You're on the road, and the only places that you really can stop. Yeah, sort of service stations. I mean, you have that, you know, if you're driving the length of the country, like the only places really that you're gonna stop are service stations.
Yeah.
And when you get to a venue, chances are you're gonna end up with some horrible veggie chili or something, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, that is not to criticise any of the venues that have ever given me veggie chili, just in case they hear that, you know, your veggie chili was beautiful. But the truth is, we tend to eat crap whilst we're away. You're stuck with McDonald's or KFC or Burger King. Right, you are right. It's not a good energy builder at all. But I would say, like, you know, we just don't have the facilities to cook whilst we're away. And, you know, when you stop at a hotel, pot noodles and stuff, it's grim. I always say to everybody who like, when they ask what tour's like, it's grim. Yeah. It's really grim. When you're doing it on a sort of our level, it's you know, you are surviving on rubbish food and sort of going around. But yeah, I haven't got an answer for you.
Okay. No, that's all right. Because I mean, I've spoken to some and they've said, oh, you know, we always take, you know, like, you know, equivalent of pot noodles, but just like the ramen packets.
Oh, right.
And
okay.
then like things like that. I mean, I've got like sort of like one recipe, which is it's like the ramen noodle with frozen vegetable.
Oh.
And if you have the facility, you can pop a poached egg in there. But it's like using most venues will have a kettle, or a hotel will have a kettle, or, you know, and things like that. So you've got the facility of boiling water to a point.
That's about it, though, isn't it?
It is, but you think that the energy in noodles and stuff and the vegetables you're getting, you know, your other bits and bobs. But it's just, when I was on tour, you know, like some venues, like you say, they'd make a veggie pasta or a veggie chili, and you think, oh, great, we're actually going to get fed.
Yeah.
And you know, 9 times out of 10, it was good stuff. I can, you know, because you're on tour and you're hungry, essentially. But it's literally just, you know, throw something together, stuck it in the oven.
It really is. They don't really put much effort into it, which is fair enough, you know. But the best one we ever had, we turned up to a venue and they were like, right, the food's in the back for you. And we went in the back and there was like a platter of veggie burgers. But they weren't just veggie burgers. They were properly done with, like, you know, sliced tomato and, you know, all the rest of it. It was brilliant. You know, we didn't expect it when we turned up either. So it was a nice, pleasant surprise. But I think we tend just to, you know, stick to butties and horrible takeaway and the rest of it. So it is a bit grim, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that was my sort of thinking behind the book, because like I read all these things like, you know, a touring band makes no money. And things like that, and I'm kind of like, well, at a certain level, no, because you're getting exposure. But they'll talk about mid-level bands, you're getting paid, and all that kind of stuff. And I was looking at ways of saving money.
Yeah,
like by the time, like, I mean, we were going, like, I was going for 10 years in the same band, so we sort of had a certain like ritual or, you know, routine of tour.
Nice.
And you know, we went up and down, like, popularity wise with size of venues.
Yeah.
So, you know, the bigger venues, yeah, we got food, you know, we got, like, you know, packaged sandwiches or whatever.
That's cool.
And stuff like that. So, we got a taste of that. But then when you're away for a couple of years, or you haven't really toured for a while, and you go back and, like, the smaller venues are taking you, but the bigger ones aren't.
Yeah.
And, like, your guarantee's lower. And, like, there's no rider apart from maybe a case of, like, cheap Belgian lager.
Yeah.
It's like £3 from Tesco or whatever. And which is great. I don't drink, but it's great for the guys who do. They get their drinks. But, I was like sat here thinking, well, there's got to be ways of saving money, because sometimes you get a buyout of like £5 or £15 or whatever. And you're like, okay, well, with that £5, you can go to a supermarket and you can pick up some bits that aren't like, you know, a McDonald's, Big Mac or whatever, you know, or Burger King.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and there are ways of surviving on the road for, you know, a couple of pounds. You'd still have money for breakfast in the morning.
That's it. Yeah, that's true. And I think breakfast is probably, you know, the best meal of the day for when you're on tour. You know, I always find if you have a good breakfast, then you don't have to eat until you get to the show.
No, and then I'd usually try and find, like, as opposed to like service stations, because we normally stay in town, and you try and find that Greasy Spoon cafe.
That beautiful Greasy Spoon, I tell you. Yeah.
I mean, I think we played in Blackpool or up near that way.
There's plenty of Greasy Spoons.
I know. No, that's what I was saying. There's plenty of places around there. Because we played, I think, is it Lancaster as well?
Oh man, right. Whereabouts? Just out of curiosity, whereabouts?
Is it
your house?
The Alex?
Oh man, you're right. Okay, cool.
That was a long drive, and it was a long time ago.
The thing is, the band is from Blackpool, but I actually live in Lancaster.
Oh, okay.
And so you know, the Alex was where I went to as a teen to go and party every weekend. So that's before it closed down. It's closed now, obviously.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's that was where I cut my teeth, really, with sort of, you know, bands and music and all the rest of it. So it's pretty cool that you played there. Yeah.
No, it was a good gig. I mean, it was a one-off gig for us, and I don't know why because it was so far away.
Right.
We travelled up in a tiny car with our equipment in the back, as most. It was like early in our sort of like band career, so to speak. But it was the first time we'd been that far north.
Right. Got you.
But we played there, and they had our name wrong on the poster.
I did.
And that's a common thing through our career.
I was probably there, you know. I was probably there.
You may have been. It was a kind of punk. It was a punk gig,
right?
As such, but we weren't a punk band.
Got you.
We were kind of in the vein of new metal. So,
what's your band name?
We were called Zero Cypher.
I think I was at that gig.
Oh, that's they had us on the poster as the Zero Cyphers.
Right.
This is how it sticks in my memory, because it was like one of the only time that we've ever been referred to like that, because it was like Zero Kipper and stuff like that was the other ones. Nice. Cypher with a what is Cypher spelled differently from where we spell it. So. But yeah, no, I was a turntable or scratcher in the band, so DJ. Nice. But yeah, no, we played. It was like we played there, and we went down really well from what I remember. And then we had to drive the 5-6 hours back after the show.
God, nightmare.
Because we're from like South London area, so
it is. It's a 4 to 5 hour journey, that isn't it?
Yeah, it was a crazy night, but it really sort of set us up for the rest of the time we were together and stuff. So it sort of, you know, it was a kind of more of a test.
Yeah,
because if we could survive that without bickering, without fighting, without crashing, then,
running out of petrol or breaking down, or
Yeah, and we did it, you know, and then we went on from there, and we toured UK, Europe, and like did all that kind of stuff that, you know, we got to tour with some of the bands that or play with bands that we sort of admired and stuff as well. So
it's definitely good that you got to do that. Yeah.
No, it was crazy if you were there though. But yeah, no, that's cool. Like back with touring. An essential item to take with you, not your like bar the band equipment, because obviously that's essential.
It's pretty essential. Yeah.
One other thing you could recommend any sort of new band to take on tour with them that they wouldn't normally remember, or you know, wouldn't normally associate with.
Got you. I've got two.
Okay.
First one is antiseptic wipes. If you are stuck in a van all day, if you're going on stage and you're following, you know, other bands and whatnot, having an antiseptic wipe to wipe the microphone with is kind of, you know, essential. Also, second one, earplugs, and not because of the live performance, because you're sharing a room with 3 other guys that are snoring their heads. So you have to get to sleep. So earplugs, definitely.
Yeah.
First time we went on tour, I had to sleep like we were we booked like a 3-person room, and we snuck in another person into the hotel room. So there was 4 of us in this tiny little budget hotel. I was in bed with one of the other band members, and that guy snored. Like the room would shake with how much he snored.
Yeah.
So and I was without earplugs. So for like 3 or 4 days on the trot, I didn't sleep.
Oh.
So I would say earplugs are essential. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was the snorer.
Oh, dear. Damn it.
Yeah, no, I was punched. I was smothered. Because like we'd
sleep you.
Yeah, we'd sleep in a van because we had our own like minibus, and we kind of semi-converted it into a tour bus. So the sort of row of seats turned into a bed at night, and then, you know. Anyway, no, I'd fall asleep, and then I'd get like a sharp pain in my arm. I'd wake up. I was like, "Ow, what?" And then it turned out that they were punching me because I was snoring so loudly. And I'd wake up and there'd be a pillow like just roughly over my face, and like it's just kind of, it was a bit like, okay, fine. And then I started getting my own hotel room, and they had to sleep in the van.
Yeah.
You know, it was more out of spite, but our sound engineer was fine. I guess he had earplugs. He's
right.
like, don't worry, I'll come in there, and you know, because it was like I had 2 like double beds, so.
Nice.
You know, one of them I'd sneak them in the morning so everyone could like shower and stuff. But
right.
It's yeah, no, I was on the other side of that, so I can understand the earplug side of things.
And the guy that falls asleep really quickly as well, because there's nothing worse than a guy that snores that's the first person to fall asleep. You know, I take a little while to fall asleep, me. So by the time I'm ready to go to sleep, everyone's already snoring. So I need those earplugs, definitely.
Yes, no, that's a good one. That's a good one, and the antiseptic wipes as well.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
we used to pack our own microphones. Just like for the same reason.
Yeah,
because we'd have like, you know, you'd have like smelly mic syndrome, and it smells partially of vomit and partially of spit, and you just kind of like, and you wonder how many other people have used that microphone.
That around their mouth, it's just like.
So, and you know how some vocalists like to like really cup it against their face and
spit into it and all the rest of it.
So we ended up packaging, like, I've got my own. I'm using it right now. I've got an SM58. It's my tour mic that I use for this. So it's I used to tell everyone, and then occasionally just change the head whenever it got to that level of smelliness. But yeah, no, I agree with that one. And as a vocalist as well, how, this is one question I see a lot and I get asked as well. How do you maintain your voice on the road?
Well, I think the most important time is straight after you've come off stage. I think you need to sort of, look after your voice straight away as soon as you come off. So you'll find a lot of people going straight onto the booze as soon as they come off stage, which I don't. I have to have a hot drink straight away just to sort out my vocal cords, and then sort of after that, that's fine. But I mean, I think I'm really lucky. The bands that we've been on tour with, I've known people to come off stage, on tour, they've come off stage and then their voice is totally broken. Totally broken, and they have to spend the whole day, the next day, sorting their voice out before they go on stage. I'm one of these guys that sort of, can just go for a week and it doesn't seem to affect it that much at all. In fact, it probably gets better the more and more I go on. So yeah, I don't really have to maintain it a lot, but I always look after it as soon as I've come off stage.
Yeah.
I think that's the time when you can cause most damage. If you come off stage and then just start drinking booze straight away, which a lot of people do, then I reckon it can wreck your vocal cords. But I think a hot cup of tea or something straight after you've finished sorts me right out anyway. Definitely.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I learned that like through trial and error.
Yeah.
So it was like, because obviously in the band I was screaming a lot.
Yeah,
shouting. So you stretch your vocal cords. I mean, I warm them up. So, I did like whatever you can do in scale wise and stuff, and just sort of gave it that like little bit of heat to start with.
Yeah.
But then after the show, that was when it was like, because normally you'd be chugging like ice cold water.
Yeah.
And it should be like, I learned that it should be like room temperature water.
Yeah.
If anything. And then, like you say, with a hot drink, so I used to have like sort of hot lemon and honey if I had it, or like I say, a cup of tea.
Yeah.
You know, but like before I was like, you know, you chug a Red Bull, you chug water, you know, and that's where the damage happened, because the next day I'm croaking.
Yeah,
still,
that's it.
You know, and then you're told to be quiet for the rest of the day. And that's really difficult, especially when you double up as the manager of the band.
Right. And yeah.
It's like, you know, you're the tour manager or whatever, you know, you're looking after all the stuff going on.
I know that one.
Yeah. And it's just having that, not having that voice was really difficult.
Yeah.
So then after a while, I started seeking the advice of other bands we were playing with, and that was it. It was like a hot drink.
Hot drink.
You know, you're hot and sweaty after a show. Don't go out into the cold.
Yeah.
You know, it's just wrap a towel over your head or whatever, and just to sort of like, you know, soak up the sweat and stuff.
Definitely.
But just you know, warm it down, have a warm drink.
Yeah.
You know, just because your voice is, you know, your vocal cords have stretched and they're raw, and you need to soothe them, and heat will soothe them.
Heat will soothe. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I learned that as well. You know, there was a band in the UK called Anti-Vigilante that we went on tour with, and they would come off stage and would have a ritual of lemon and ginger. They'd have flasks with them, and they'd drink those before they even packed up. So yeah, I think you kind of pick up things when you're touring with bands as well. You kind of start your first tour off, you don't really sort of have an idea, you know, you're just sort of in the van and you're driving around. But that's the thing that I've enjoyed most is sort of meeting the other bands and sort of learning from them as well.
But yeah, cool. Okay, well, thank you, Mark.
Well, thank you. Cheers.
And, have a good rest of your day. I think it was you still got the rest of the day left there, haven't you?
It's about 3 o'clock here, so yeah.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Okay, man. Well, thank you very much, and I'll speak to you soon.
Excellent. Cheers, dude.
Cool, man. Take it easy. Bye-bye. As episode 2 comes to a close, I want to say thank you for listening. Also, if you can leave some feedback on iTunes and Stitcher, that will be awesome. You can buy the Karma Party Illuminations off iTunes and via their Bandcamp, which is thekarmaparty.bandcamp.com. You can go to their website, thekarmaparty.co.uk, and all their stuff's there. I'd recommend getting both EPs if you've got the money. I believe they're both on Spotify as well, if you wanted just to check them out before you bought them. Finally, my sponsorship again, which I came at you straight away on the first episode, but I've left it till the end here. So just if you can use the Amazon links off my website, that would be awesome. It just helps me pay for the bandwidth, the web space, and all that kind of stuff that comes along with podcasting. I'm not pressuring anyone to do it, but it would be nice if you could. You just literally, I've got for Amazon links for the USA and for the UK, which means if you go to my website, djforcex.com, click through the link, it just takes you through to Amazon. It's not costing you any extra money. It's just if you buy something, they throw a couple of % back at me, just purely for the advertising. So if you could do that, that would be awesome. I've got a few other links on my site as well if you want to check them out. It might be something you're into. But I've also got a shop, a cafepress.com/DJForceX. And I've got t-shirts. I've got car magnets. I've even got stuff for your pets, which is kind of awesome if you got a dog. If not, then kind of useless. Anyway, this has been me, Barney, a.k.a. DJ Force X. So until next week, this is DJ Force X. Out.